Welcome, everyone. I am Dr. Dream, and you are here for the It's All Good show. This episode of the It's All Good show is focused on an EE System Center owner, but she is much more than that. Her name is Dr. Shahnoz Rustamova. She is a physician and global longevity practitioner who bridges modern clinical medicine with ancient healing technologies to support the body's innate intelligence. With a foundation in Western medicine and decades of international study across Tibet, China, India, and the Amazon, she brings a rare depth of perspective to health, one that honors science, energy, nervous system regulation, and the lived human experience. Her work centers on understanding why the body becomes inflamed, depleted, or dysregulated, and how to restore balance through precise sequencing. She integrates functional diagnostics, DNA analysis, microbiome, and mitochondrial health, hormonal balance, detoxification, breathwork, and nervous system calming practices to create deeply individualized healing strategies, kind of just pulling everything together. At her New York City clinic, she incorporates advanced technologies such as the energy enhancement system alongside clinical medicine to support coherence, recovery, and cellular communication. She works with individuals globally, guiding them to reconnect with their biology, regulate stress at the nervous system level, and cultivate sustainable vitality. Her approach is neither alternative nor conventional. It is integrative, grounded, and rooted in respect for the body as an intelligent system. Patients and retreat participants often describe her work as transformative, not because it promises miracles, but because it restores clarity, safety, and alignment within the body. Shahnoz, welcome to the It's All Good show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to read the entire bio. I don't normally do that, but you've got so much going on. I didn't want to leave anything out. So I appreciate you and everything that you're about. Now, I guess before we get started, I'm curious how you see the body, like not medically, but more relationally.
Yeah, body is a very complex system that has not just a physical apparatus, but consists of energetic field inside and outside that rules all the functions that we have in a cell, in the cells. And you cannot just address one system. You cannot address just one organ. You have to address the whole entire being, which is your physical body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body as well, your soul. Only then you will be able to get that depth of understanding what is happening with the being at that moment and heal. That's how I see it.
Now, when you say the body has innate intelligence, what does that actually mean in lived experience?
In lived experience, there are some conditions, there's a lot of conditions. I would say most of our conditions we have, if we let the body do what it knows what to do, because inside of our body we have a code. The code that we brought to this life, to this planet, in this physical state that we have now, there is a code. And if we just stop and do not interfere with that code and step aside and let the body do what it needs to do, it has that ability to do it because it's all written there. And that's why I'm so passionate about DNA and mitochondria and microbiome, because it's all code.
Now, so many of us deal with inflammation, and it seems like it's almost one of those things that media is telling us and we hear about all the time. What is inflammation really trying to communicate with us?
Well, inflammation is the body's way of telling us, and you said it right. It's the communication. It's telling us that there is some systems are in stress, and you need to address them. So inflammation initially, let's say if you cut your finger, inflammation plays role in the healing because it's a signaling system. It calls everything in your body, all the immune systems and blood clots and everything to come and heal that particular damaged area of your body. So when you have it systemically everywhere in every cell of your body, this is when all the alarms are going off, and that creates chaos, systemic chaos, when the body immune system becomes so confused and overwhelmed. And that's what people are trying to convey and explain to everyone, like, today's social media, and now it's a mainstream medical also picked up this inflammation. How do you say it? It's a trend. You know how it is. Like
Right.
inflammation was always there, and then all of a sudden it became a trend. But the idea is to just to understand what inflammation is and why. What does it mean? What your body's trying to tell you? What is it coming from?
So you see a lot of people, I'm sure that it's across the board in what you're seeing. Where do where do most people, or where do people most often misrepresent their systems, their symptoms? They've
They
got something
go
going on and they read into it, and then there's, Google as a doctor and whatnot.
Google, Chat GPT, and you name it. Now we have a lot of tools. So they mostly go by symptoms. And when they have symptoms, then automatically when you start Googling and checking in the computer, it shows diagnosis, symptom diagnosis. And then all of a sudden they diagnose themselves. And the treatment is usually, pharmaceutical or something like that. Instead of asking why this is happening, what is it coming from? What's causing it? So going to the root of the problem, not always the main thing for a lot of people, and they, misunderstand and misread their body.
Now tell me, what happens in the body when it no longer feels safe?
Well, there's a lot of things happen in the body. First, it happens on the cellular level. Everything happens on the cellular level. So the first thing, your body, your cell has this command center, which is your DNA, that has all the information. It's your Akashic record, basically. Has everything about you and what happened before you with your ancestors. And then you have all these organelles. So the first thing what the body the cell starts to experience is when typically physiologically nutrients have to come in into the cell and toxins have to come out. All the waste has to come out. So this beautiful flow called life. And when we have that, along with that energy production, that what supports life and health and well-being. So when this flow gets disrupted, the first area of the body starts feeling it is your cell starts to feel sluggish. Stops producing that much of energy as, let's say, if mitochondria is affected. Cells becomes inflamed, unhappy, puffy looking, unhappy looking cell. And then, let's say if it is the cell of your thyroid, then you have these patrol cells, which is your immune system that floating around. It's like a police, and they looking for intruders and foreigners. And then once they see something that is inflamed that doesn't look like thyroid, they attack it, thinking that it's something foreign. And that's how autoimmunity starts. But it all starts, not only autoimmunity, but any disease starts at the cellular level.
So many people want optimization, but you emphasize regulation first. Take us into the distinction between those and why it's so important.
Well, before that, I actually go into decoding. Decode first. Decode, detoxify, optimize. So decode meaning that I study your DNA first. Each of us have certain DNA sets that we have, the pathways, the detoxifying pathways, healing pathways. And genes are not your destiny, but they switches that you can flip the switch, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, and thus you can create well-being or disease. So by knowing your pathways, your vulnerable sites and your strength, only then I can say, okay, we're gonna have to go through this pathway. We have to go hard and here. For example, I just had a patient when I went through her detoxification. She's doing liver detox. Liver detox has two phases. The first phase is when you drink alcohol or eat anything that it's toxic, it has to break it down. That's phase one. Phase two is when those broken down pieces need to be removed with specific, we call them binders, like vehicles, removed and escorted out of the body. So two phases. In her case, phase two is affected genetically. So my job is, and she is doing liver detox, and it's not happening. It's not helping her. Inflammation's still there because she's not addressing the second portion of that detox. So decoding is very important. You see, once I know decoding, then according to you, which is you have different DNA than I do, same set of genes, but they they express differently. So in that case, your protocol would be different than my protocol. Like if we two patients, you know? So that's how I approach human body. Plus, the same thing, believe it, well, you believe that, but I actually wrote the book called Breath Code about how breath work, like specific breathing, can turn on or turn off specific genes. So it's not only which vitamins to take, what kind of food to eat, it also how much of the breathing you do. By breathing, you are working on your sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system. You're regulating your hormones. It's a very, very complex, beautiful system that we have. And that's why decoding it first, I think it's the most important thing.
So this whole concept of DNA decoding is not a very mainstream medical practice. What is the actual process of that?
So it's not mainstream at all, even in the biohacking community. Not everybody does that. Um, it is, it's not a new thing. It's been around for many years. It's just very complex and very hard. It takes a lot of work. So there are different types of DNA testing. You could just Google and say DNA testing, and there's a lot of them. So basically, most of them are just a swab from the cheek, and then you send it out and they read it. But you have to be careful. You have to make sure that this is a good company, has a good stance. Your data is not going to be sold anywhere. Your data is secure. You want to make sure. Okay. Second, you want to make sure that this company been around for a long time. Otherwise, if they go under, what's going to happen to your data? So all these things, you have to make sure that you're using a right company. And after that, you have two choices. One, when you swab, you can receive a report, which is very overwhelming. A lot of patients come with this report and they don't know what to do. And there is a clinical report which actually shows all these pathways that I was talking about, breaking it down to say this patient, cardiovascular system, immune system. So basically, it gives me the idea of what's going on, and then based on that, I can sit down and talk to them. So the process is pretty easy. It's just a swab. You receive the kit, you swab, you send it out. The question is which company to use, and the clinicians also. It's not that many of us, so we are figuring it out as we go, and knowledge just keep coming. When I started, we only could decode 70 genes. Today we had 144 genes, and now it's keep growing. Every 6 months they're adding more and more and more. In 3 years it's probably going to be 1,000 genes. Who knows? So it's a very interesting field, the DNA decoding. I feel like it's going to be a standard of care one day. I hope it will be, because then we're really going to know how to approach individually each person instead of just having a cookie cutter on everyone.
Okay, so let me ask you. Here I am in Idaho. I've got a naturopath and some other practitioners I go to. I get my blood looked at and all the different markers a couple times a year. I used to live in New York City, but I don't get back there very much at all. Would I be able to have you recommend one of these companies and then send you the report and we work remotely on whatever would be found?
I work globally. I have patients in
Okay.
Dubai. I have patients in Europe, in India. Yes.
And would that be the first step with you? Would be doing the swab and getting the report?
I think it would be better. Of course, we can do something else. So we could do just a blood test. We could do microbiome, but I really love to look at your DNA, which shows me what you consist of, what you build of. Then look at your blood test showing what's happening right now at this moment. Then looking at your microbiome, which is another ecosystem. So if we humans, you and I, we have 25,000 genes. Down there in the bowel, we have 2.5 million of them. We outnumbered, so we better be friends with them. So they do affect your genome. You see? So ideally, I want to see all three. Ideally.
So what would I do? I'd find a lab where I'm at that would,
It's all in the internet. There's so many microbiome tests that you can do. Of course, stool test is more like I would say the best. The one that I use, lab called Cyfox, they have pretty good microbiome. There's a lot of them. Same way it comes to your house, you just do the sampling, just like you do the DNA sampling, you do the stool sampling, and then you send it out. Results usually take 2 to 3 weeks, and then once it's back, you sit down with your clinician, whether your naturopath or whoever it is, and they will, decode and see how many pathogens you have in your system. Do you have overgrowth of candida, and then good bacteria? If you have overgrowth of bad bacteria, good bacteria, how to fix it? And of course, it's not medication; it's all lifestyle. Vitamins, butyrates, omega 3s, and so forth. So I think this should be the way we look at the body. Besides also checking what is your emotional state as well, because that affects your hormones.
so how do we figure out what my emotional state is?
I talk to you. I feel you. I have to talk to you. We have to go deep and create the connection. That's also very important to have a connection between healer and the healee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the common, like are there modalities that kind of across the board everyone needs some help with, or is it just really very specific to each person?
Modalities in terms of therapy or
Yeah, like when
diagnosis?
you get these reports and everything, it's like, do most of us need kind of the same things? Are we deficient in some of the same areas?
Well, you're right. Most of us do have a lot of deficiencies in vitamins and nutrients, and most of us do need replenishment. So, all our diseases happen because of nutritional deficiencies and lifestyle deficiencies. So, nutrition is number one. So, by just taking vitamins and detoxing your body, just that, if you're a naturally healthy person, don't have any medical conditions, everything just fall into places, and then you just stay on the maintenance. That is the easiest, scenario. But there are some more complicated scenarios when inflammation gotten deeper and you have autoimmune disease or you have neurological problems like Parkinson's and so forth. Then it's a different story. Then it takes more. And modalities, like there's different modalities. Of course, diet, fasting, infrared, all these things that we have today, they do work. Light therapy, E system, in my office, when you come for IV therapies, I put you in E system. And believe me, it's crazy how E system works, what it does to the body. Remember I said in the beginning, if you just step away and your body knows how to fix itself, this is what E system does. Your DNA all of a sudden wakes up and starts going and starts healing everything. So imagine in that environment, you put the patient with the IV, with the bag, and I had cases when patients had regular Myers cocktail somewhere else, and then the same Myers cocktail in my office, and then 2 hours later, she's calling me like, "What did you put in that bag?" Nothing. I feel high. I swear, nothing. It's the same Myers cocktail. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of good modalities. Peptides, but it's, well, I wouldn't say controversial because it's not controversial, but it's very regulated today. It's There's a war going on between pharmaceuticals and us doctors, those who are trying to do so. There's a lot of good modalities there.
So I've been to over 40 EE system centers around the country. I have my own experience, back-to-back strokes. Dr. Sandra invited me to Las Vegas. After 2 hours, I went from barely able to use a walker to being able to walk. My total healing process took 2.5 years. But in I would have to say, all the centers I've been to, there isn't one that has someone like you. I'm not saying, I mean, I don't think there's anyone really like you, but even with the qualifications of being a doctor and everything like that, that's amazing that you've included the EE system in your practice and that you're getting results. Give us some additional testimonials and how the EE system has become a valuable part of your practice.
Yeah, well, first of all, I got so much crap for doing that from medical community. But still the same people from medical community started coming and using that too. Testimonials, I'll tell you, speaking of stroke, there was one case where a 22-year-old kid, uh, they live in Washington State, and she developed glioblastoma, a brain tumor. They tried to treat her, they did surgery, nothing worked. And then they said, we can't help you. So parents took her. She was okay, she was mobile. They took her to Sloan Kettering, to New York City, tried to come up with a better solution, and hoping that they're going to go on some kind of trial and get like a newest treatment. So they were desperate. When they came, the kid was placed in the MRI machine, and as they were pushing IV contrast, she had a stroke. She developed a stroke. So now the doctor is like, we can't. She can't even tolerate IV contrast. She's not going to tolerate surgery. She's not going to tolerate chemotherapy. So she was basically disqualified for all these studies that were going on because of that state. And the mother was very desperate, and she sat at the time while she was just scrolling and looking for alternatives, because the father wanted to take the kid to Mexico and try to do holistically, try to heal her holistically, but she was just flat on the bed. She couldn't move. And here she comes. She came across with a YouTube video about me talking about e-system. She found out, and I'm the only center in New York City. So, and I'm not that far from Sloan Kettering. So she ran. She didn't take a taxi. She just ran. And here I am watching, looking patients and taking care of patients. She storms into my office, starts crying, please take my kid, take my kid. Okay. So we had to cancel all the patients, and we put her in the room. And I also used, of course, high dose of vitamin drips and glutathione and everything that I had. I just threw it there. And I do have videos of the kid. The first day she came, and it was Monday, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk. She was in a wheelchair. Day two, she was going to the bathroom with help. Day three, of course, she was still dragging her foot, but she was verbal. She could talk, not clearly, but at least we could understand what she was saying. Still has weakness, but she could walk. And she walked out of my office. Me pushing wheelchair and the mother just helping her. And that's how we walked out of my office. So I'm not claiming anything, but that's my observation. And I can, you know, tell you more stories with all of that.
Ah,
It's
that's so powerful. And, I always say the proof is in the pudding. but there's a lot of people that just don't understand the value and the effectiveness of the EE system. Even after I tell my story, which is, it's not a study, there's no research involved, but I know what was going on with me before. I know what happened during, and then I know what happened in the full process after. You still have people that just won't wrap their minds around it or can't integrate the information.
Yes, yes, true.
So, just probably should have asked this before, but I'll ask you now. How did you first find out about EE system?
Well, I'm someone who tries new things, and I also use my intuition. I'm very sensitive to energies. I just came across with a YouTube video where Dr. Sandra Michaels was talking about e-system, explaining how it works, and there were no centers around the area, so I decided I'm going to go and check it out and see any center. So I was looking for centers, which was like 2 hours away from New York City. So I had to drive to Long Island. And the moment I walked in, I felt energy. It's palpable. It's really palpable if you're someone who's sensitive. So really, when I came out, I'm like, this is real. This is powerful. And that's how it's all started. And then I connected with the system folks, and the rest is a history, and I'm the only one. I think one of the first centers that we opened, and the first one was me, and the only in New York.
Very impressive. I know Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, the inventor of EE System, is very impressed with the work you're doing. And it's actually why I'm here speaking to you right now. Um, I'd have to say, I mean, we talked about inflammation, like, oh, everyone's talking about inflammation and everything. One of the other current buzzwords in the field of medical and wellness is longevity. Give us your take on what's involved in, longevity, or your take on that.
Yeah. Well, longevity, inflammation, they go hand in hand together because inflammation, chronic inflammation for many, many years is the definition of aging. And then finally, tissue dies, decays and dies. So that's what happens on the physical level. And what keeps it alive and healthy and gives vitality is a little tiny organelle called mitochondria. I call it mitochondria because I truly believe that mitochondria is God sent. And I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, you need to hear the story of mitochondria. Mitochondria was not a part of our cell, it's a foreigner. So, back in the days when billions and billions of years ago, when life on the planet was in the form of one cell organism. This is when one big cell engulfed this small, tiny little cell and was about to digest, where the cell kind of negotiated and created symbiosis because this little tiny cell was able to produce energy. And they kind of negotiated together, and that little cell stayed. So basically, the story goes, I can help you to live instead of 2 weeks, you're going to live 2 months. I'm going to prolong your longevity, your lifespan. So the main reason why we live longer, stay healthy, is because of the function of this mitochondria. And the reason why I say mitochondria, because if you look at your DNA, one strand comes from your mother, one strand comes from your father. Mitochondria comes purely from your mother. And when the science started tracking the tribes and human migration, they found out that there is one original woman who gave this mitochondria for the rest of the human tribe. Okay, and it's it's pretty powerful when you look at our genes in our nucleus. We have genes that it's bad genes, mutated genes, good genes, like we have good and bad. In mitochondria, you have 37 genes. 37, by the way, also a very powerful number. It's a prime number. And it has only good and positive. The power, love, good feeling, joy, all these genes are there. Okay, so when you feed mitochondria, and mitochondria is all functional, and you have them enough in your cell, you feel powerful, you feel joyful, you have this vitality. So the key to longevity is mitochondrial health.
And so, how is that addressed?
Well, there's a different ways to do it. The best, the easiest way to address your mitochondria and your gut health is fasting. We're talking about prolonged fasting. When you fast for 36 hours and longer, this is when autophagy starts. Autophagy is when your body starts eating dead cells and getting rid of the dead senescent cells, zombie cells. And this is how you renew your mitochondria. That's one way. Saunas, breathwork, methylene blue, infrared light. Mitochondria loves water. Mitochondria loves oxygen, sunlight. It absolutely adores sunlight. What mitochondria doesn't like is sugar.
Hmm.
So mitochondria runs on sugar, but if you have too much, it gets overwhelmed, and this is what it burns.
Fascinating, because there's such a sugar addiction problem, certainly in the first world.
True.
Now, you've studied in Tibet, China, India, the Amazon. What did those traditions teach you that modern medicine often forgets?
Well, the reason why I started learning all of that is because number one, I had my own problems that modern medicine couldn't give me answers. And that is speaking of emotions and, working on your mind and, these things. And Tibetan medicine was the first thing that I came across. I read the book of Peter Keller, um, Fountain of Youth. This is when I got introduced, was curious about Tibet, and then I had to go to Tibet and explore myself, spend months with Tibetan monks, ate what they ate, did what they did, and learned meditation, all these practices, trying to get, they have very, very advanced spiritual practices when you literally jump from one parallel reality to another. So learning all these techniques were fascinating. And then also being a obstetrician, and I love delivering babies. I was always fascinated by midwifery services, the childbirth in every culture. So also watching how it's all done in all these traditions and how life is being greeted and how death was also being revered, not like in our world. It also gave you a completely different perspective. Now, another thing also, the way medicine works in Tibetan medicine, Ayurveda, they look at the body from the standpoint of energies and elements, earth, water, fire, elements. And if you look at healthy human body, we are a replica of healthy planet Earth. Healthy planet Earth has 70 to 80% of water. Healthy human body has to have healthy to 80% of water. Then you have earth element, 5 to 7, maximum 8% of earth element. Same thing for human body. Then you have atmosphere, which is air, same thing for human body. Then you have fire, which is sun, also 5 to 7%, which is your internal fire in your human body, your metabolism. So there's a lot of interesting, like the way they look at the body. So when they treat you, they go by, it's almost like decoding, like I do DNA, but they decode by elements. What is your type? Are you Vata, you Pitta, you more fire element? If you have too much fire, they say that's inflammation. If you have too much earth, that comes your obesity and mucus and all other things. So they different, and it's interesting how all of them the same. They're different than modern medicine, but are all the same.
So I find this fascinating. I'm in a program right now called Humanopathy with Dr. Nikos in the UK. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it sort of integrates everything in a field of study as opposed to being just with the blinders on. Um, has it been difficult to integrate everything that you've learned and all into your practice, or is it just you're so well rounded, it's just natural for you to think from these different perspectives?
Oh, I would love to say it's just natural. It's so natural. No, took some time. It took some time to see, the similarities and differences. Because I'm not against modern medicine. You need modern medicine. You need that. It's all about balance. So it took some time for me to integrate alternative medicine into modern medicine. A, because it's frowned upon. It's because, you put your license on the online. There's a lot of factors that you have to consider. And then also patients are not that open, you know? In this world, if I talk about vitamins, if someone has irregular periods and they say, if you start taking vitamin D and magnesium, that should help your period. Some of them say, oh, cool, I'll try. And some of them go, what? And they actually wrote negative reviews about me that I said take vitamins. See what I'm saying? So it took some, you'll think. So it took some integration and the trying, but then at some point you just don't give a flying, you just say, this is where I am right now. I just say it like it is. And you like it, welcome. You don't like it, go and find another one.
You've obviously been doing this for a while. I'm sure that things have become more people are more open to things today than they were in the past. What have you noticed since like COVID and that whole thing and now?
Yes. It takes a lot of discomfort for us to wake up and do something. So COVID was that discomfort for our collective, for all of us. And I've noticed that during COVID and after COVID, especially after COVID, a lot of my patients started changing their lifestyle. I don't have to like lecture them anymore. They understand. They ask questions. They come for help now, asking, "What do I do to stay healthy?" So people more open. Yeah.
I would imagine post COVID, the with everything that you talk about and how varied it is, that your patients or your new patients have a greater respect for you as opposed to, maybe the standard allopathic doctors that they were seeing before.
Well, over time, there's some kind of a natural selection, and you start attracting patients who resonate with you. And now, rarely, when I get new patients, they don't resonate. And I just treat them the way they want to be treated. They want just Western medicine, fine. You want birth control pills? Free country, here, have it. But it's just my established patients. Like I said, those who stayed with me, we have a good relationship.
So, what would you want people to stop doing immediately in the name of health?
Number one, stop being right. In Ayurvedic medicine, in Tibetan medicine, that's what they say. The first thing, stop being right. And if you think about it, every time when we try to prove our point to someone and try to be right, this is defense mechanism. And when it's defense mechanism, you produce what? Cortisol. And what's cortisol? Stress hormone. What does it do? Inflammation.
Wow. Okay. It's also, I mean, we talk a lot about sidelining the ego, which is that whole process of needing to be right. So,
Yep.
on the physical, on the emotional. Wow, great answer. They tell you not to ask questions if you don't know what the answer is, but I took a shot at that one.
Well, think about it. I have patients who take a lot of vitamins, they take care of themselves, but they still can't handle their inflammation. It's only because they have a lot of stress. And not just stress, but we call it stress. It's just my reaction to external world. That's what stress is. So stop reacting. Stop being that person who wants to be right.
So, I mean, fascinating to hear you say this. I've lived in New York City, absolutely loved it. Interestingly enough, a lot of my spiritual awakening happened there, which blows people away when they hear about it. But you're kind of in the heart of a stressful environment for people. From what I remember, I don't know how it's changed in the last
It didn't
decade or
change.
two.
It didn't change. It's still the same. And one of the monks told me when I was in Tibet, he said that, it's easy for us. We just sit here and we meditate. We live here in the caves. You live in New York City. This is PhD of spirituality. So that's why maybe you had your awakening there.
Love it. Now, if the body could speak in one clear sentence, what would it be asking us to hear?
Well, the first sign I would say, if you have problems with bowel movements, that's one sign that the body's trying to tell you something. If you're a woman, especially if you're a menstruating woman, if you get PMSs, this is the silent language that the body is trying to tell you what's missing in your body. You have to just learn how to listen. If you are a man or woman, if you have cravings for certain foods, you have to listen. If you're craving for sugar, it's your adrenals. Maybe it's overgrowth of candida. If you're craving for salt, you definitely need to get some rest. You're running on empty with your adrenals. If you're craving for chocolate, your magnesium is low. See? If you're bitchy, take some omega. If you're sad, it's probably vitamin D. If you're constipated, you probably have magnesium deficiency. Make sure that you have healthy bowel movements because that can cause anxiety. People, constipated people, mostly anxious people. If you have diarrhea, you have too much fire in your body, inflammation, what is causing it? Is it food that's causing it? Is it your stress, your cortisol causing it? Listening to your body and understanding what it's trying to tell you is the key.
I love that. It really makes so much sense. Um, is there anything, if a person is willing to listen, willing to make changes and take direction, is there anything that we're actually stuck with? Can we shift just about anything going on with the body?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Body knows how to heal itself. So you have to get educated first, understand your body, know how to listen to it, decode your body, decode your environment, and you can reverse anything.
Yes.
You did it. I did it. It's possible.
I love that. And that's exactly what I would want a doctor that I go to say and respond. Now, we're nearing the end of our conversation. Is there anything that we've left out that you would like to touch on or add?
I think it's great. It's great to have a conversation and, feel that the person on the other side is just hearing you and listening. It's great that to see that humanity is waking up and it's more and more of us. It's amazing to know that people are more open and I'm loving. We're on the verge of something very big and beautiful. I know that. I'm gonna have to go over the hump. It's gonna be probably ugly and painful for us, but we're on the verge of something very big and beautiful. And optimism is not just emotional state. Optimism is it's the health, it's a longevity secret.
Well, that's perfect. I wanted to talk to you because of having the EE system, and what I found in this conversation goes so far beyond that. And I am grateful for that. I'm also looking forward to speaking to you off camera about my own situation and getting swabbed and sending you some reports, and looking forward to going through that process with you. I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the It's All Good show, and I look forward to more contact with you.
Thank you so much. Looking forward. Bye.